Alright, so for whatever reason, OBS isn't working right, which is odd. So I'm doing the card by card here on Twitch, the part 3 card by card. I will not be denied. We're going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'll do some editing, put this up on the YouTube page, but for those out on YouTube, delay in content, I'm able to record audio, but for some reason I'm running into an issue with my OBS currently that is not picking up video game recording. I've never had that issue with OBS. I've come across a couple issues over time. Certain filters have stopped working or whatnot. There's no updates with them. I haven't really gone into looking to see what the fix is with them, or if I need to fix them. I've kind of moved around and gravitated different things. Obviously with the podcast, I don't need that. I'm doing audio format, doing some stuff on Twitch, so then that way I've got, you know, the Twitch stream, or the Twitch studio basically, to handle all of those things. Hey, what's up, Chaotic? How's it going? Good morning to you, although it may be evening or afternoon. It's morning here. So there's been kind of an issue in getting recording stuff done. So right now I'm doing the old Twitch stream instead, and we're going to do part 3 of the Chaos card by card, because by Jove, I'm going to get this done, and then hopefully over the course of the next week or so I can figure out what's going on with my video game capture not working. But part 3, Chaos card by card, energy 6 through whatever. That's what I'm talking about today. I may or may not have time to get a game in. For anybody who's popping in, there won't be too many gameplays, but I would be curious to hear chat takes on some of these cards. That might be something we can do a little differently with the card by cards, which normally it's just my opinion, my thoughts, my quick combinations that come to mind. But if chat's got anything to offer too on these cards, that might be beneficial. So let's go through it. Let's start. We're doing cards 6 through the end, which I guess we'll include. Why not? Let's just include this shit. Like, we already did Marks of Chaos, but we can include the Chaos Spawn and Seducers and Ravagers. You know what? I haven't talked about them. You know, they can be generated. We'll start off with Astral Incursion. Astral Incursion, which I love the artwork for, was raised to 6 as opposed to 5, and when you choose a card from your deck and draw it, it costs 4 less. This got a little bit hit with the old stick from all those cost reduction tutor cards. However, it was pretty powerful if you were able to get it. It still can be powerful, but it's a 1-card trick pony, and honestly, I mean, there's decks that can still make it work if you're looking to get out a big fat body. I know some people were using the Agents of the Sigilate, and they were using Arvida with that. You could use it to get a really cheap, play a Lernia Hydra for 4 energy on a turn, or 2 energy with Emperor's Children, 1 energy with Saul Tarvitz. But now we've also got Saul, the other Saul, the Super Saul, if you will. He's Super Saul. And he might be able to make use of this as well. In addition to his ability, I feel like that's a little redundant, especially by 6 energy. He should have bodies on the board, so I would pass on that. But if you're looking to get some big fatties down, one deck I did it with just for fun, more for the memes than anything, for a while, was with Word Bearers and Erebus. And then I would use that to get the old Marigal Dreadnought. Get this guy out here for, pop him out at the same time that I would end with a 3-buff Warp Spawn from Erebus. And then you could potentially have 2 large warped bodies, warded troops that could be on the board that could do some work. It was fun. I got to work a couple times, but nothing consistent. You're banking on getting that card. You're banking on Erebus making some good stuff and not taking a lot of damage. So this card has lost a little bit of stock. Insurgent Leader. This is actually not too bad. This replaces your cultists with other cultists, and they're cultist brutes. So if you have a swarm of bodies of cultists on the board, When they die, you put in play a Cultist Brute, and if you continue attacking, those Cultist Brutes get stronger with those Cultists that are attacking, and you're getting more Cultist Brutes. 5/6 is pretty good statted for 6. Honestly, this is a really good card for a Cultist deck. The downside is you have got to get to 6 energy to play it. And I think he's the top of the Cultist. He's basically the head Cultist guy at this point. Like, there's no other more expensive Cultist than he. So, by the time that you get him, you've probably played other Cultists. But definitely worth a try with the Cultist deck. And like I said, once he gets going, like if you had this with like Cultist Lucretia, you play him at 5. You could do a new Saul, Super Saul, play him at 4, and have a bunch of freebie Cultists or other Cultist spawns. That might be something to try rather than go for the big fat, Forge Master or other troops that are 7 or 8. Just get some Insurgent Leaders out there. Something to consider if you want to go Chaos. Chaos with Saul. Kenrick. I'm not a fan of this. I don't like the artwork. I don't like the ability. I just don't. He's a Davenite priest. He's not a cultist because the Davenites apparently aren't cultists, even though he is. Destroy a friendly infantry and put in play a random lesser demon. Sounds like a cool ability. Way too much setup at the 6 energy. Stats are okay. I mean, we can't say that the stats aren't solid for a 6 cost, but just the ability doesn't do a whole lot. Whereas Insurgent Leader is just putting in play Cultist Brutes for troops that are dying. It doesn't require you to not attack, use 1 energy on the next turn, and you're not getting something random. Medial. So Medial is one of the cheapy demons. This is a demon that oddly does not get generated. He's not a lesser demon. He's not a greater demon. He's just a demon. When a friendly infantry dies, add a Taint of Chaos to your hand. I just don't play with the guy. He's got maintenance 1, which means he can easily be ignored by Ingathel or Chaos Spawn, or even Lorgar could run him. And that might be an option with Lorgar, who runs infantry. I just don't. I'd rather run the Word Bearers Astartes and run the Demon Host and go that way. But it is a way to get some Taints of Chaos, which can always add some power to your hand. I just think there's better options. Monster of Pythos, I think, is a better option, ironically. It's a rare, it has less health, but it has a rally stealth. And for a while there, it just had stealth. Now it just has rally stealth. But that's 6. That's 6 attack that's coming out. And then you have the chance to potentially modify it. Because it's got 4 health, it stands a very high chance of surviving unless your opponent has anti-stealth in hand. So you can make this 7, 8, 9, depending on how many stacks or buffs that you've got in play to put on it. And, for 6 cost, you're going to have a high chance of getting that 6 damage out. That's not a bad card. I've put that in play with some other cards, or cards that like to increase attack. This is really nice with Malkarian. This can be handy with a Ferrus Manus. It's a little high on the high end. He's got some better options there, but yeah, not a bad troop. For a rare, this is a good card for newer players to have and utilize. Riders of Wad. When attacking, give +1/+0. Yes, yeah, it isn't a demon. It's an infantry. So it's not even a vehicle, so you can also get mech and dendrites on this as well, Chaotic. You're correct. Riders of Wad. When attacking, give +1/0 until end of turn to your infantry. This is another card I've never used. It's a vehicle. I like the art, actually. I like the art. I just have never used it. Is that supposed to be Kenrick? It looks very similar to Kenrick, but I don't think it is. I believe Kenrick was the one that Horus slew. This has got the same kind of armor, though, which is interesting. Like shouldery, spiky armor, probably been done by the same artist. I've just never used this. And I think if you're playing Word Bearers, you actually have better Word Bearer options in hand than Riders of Wad. As a matter of fact, I think this new card that barely gets play, just Resolution buffs the health. Vandrax just does the damage. Yeah, George says, I agree. I don't think Pythos sees enough use, even though it's still a very viable card. With Super Saul, you can put it for 4. You could play it for 5 with Lucretia. You can play it for really cheap with normal Sol. It's a solid card. It was ugly when it came out, and Horus could just abuse it. Horus could still abuse it. Bane Strike rounds have been kind of nerfed a bit, so that kind of shuts the ability of Pythos. But World Eaters would use this really great if they got to 6 energy. Usually the games are over before then. Teloth. Oh, Teloth. Teloth used to be really good. Not as good as Soft Pick, but Teloth for a 6/7 body is nice. The Maintenance 3 is what cuts it off. The Resolution Crit Ram tactic in your hand is okay, but there are so many tactics out in the game now that you don't know what you're going to get. I run Teloth in my Chaos Spawn and in my Angathel deck just because it's Maintenance 1 at that point. For a 6/7 body, that's actually pretty good, and is creating potentially options for me. I'll take it. Like that's a good demon. That's a good demon. Ultimately, I don't have to use its ability. I can still attack with the 6/7. Maybe I get something good. Maybe I get something crap. But the whole point is he's the Prince of Zeech. You never know. That's the way it works. Not a bad card. I wouldn't recommend buying it though. If you had to save your gems for a legendary, there are way more legendaries that are worth getting. In the Chaos card pool, there are many more legendaries that are worth getting. It's not a bad one, though, if you get it and if you're looking for some options. This is one that has never... It's just... I can't recommend it. I love the artwork. This is classic artwork. This is great stuff. Demon Prince of Slaanesh, Abyssa. Interesting it's a demon, but it's got the Astartes armor on there. But Battle Honor, put a copy of the enemy killed... That's it. Maintenance 3. 8/7. No flanking. No fast. No rally. Just crap. This card has not changed. Actually, I think they might have increased the attack. I think at one point the attack was 6. And they increased it. Which, alright. But this card just does not see play. And for the cost, it doesn't impact the board at all. Don't pick this up. Don't buy this in the shop. Don't get this in your deck unless you are a new player and you don't have many options. It doesn't even reduce the cost. It doesn't put it in play. You have to kill the troop, and if it's a high cost troop killing, that Abyssa is killing, either Abyssa won't survive or you won't have enough energy to play it or anything else. Yeah, that's where we're going. So for anybody who's joined really quick earlier on, I just mentioned my OBS is not recording the game capture for some reason, which is why we're doing the card by card here on Twitch today. It's something different, but at the same time kind of gives an option for some chat interactions in there. I know a couple people in or out, but yeah, I'm not sure. At some point I'll be able to figure out hopefully what OBS's issue is and then be able to record standard games and videos and do that. But I wanted to get this part 3 of the card by card for Chaos done. And it's been all week. I've been dealing with this, and it's time just to do it. I figured, well, we'll just do it on Twitch. Barge of the Damned. I have a love-hate relationship with this. I love the idea of putting in more Chaos Infantry troops that giant in this game. There's a lot of good ones, especially if you play your game right. You could throw down with some Cygnus Demagogue, some Insurgent Leader. Maybe you get, a Acleon in there. But you could very well end up getting some righteous zealots or even the wounded zealots, depending on how you've played your game and built your deck up until the 7 energy mark. Now, one time, and the game coding has changed since then. This card has been a red since then. At one time, there was a very powerful deck that was just making use of C-Rec. A single C-Rec dies, and this card used to just put 3 copies of a card, like any card, if you had 1 infantry. Yeah, I want to like Abyssa too so much. Love-hate with Abyssa, I agree. I want to. I just don't. I love the art. I love the idea. It just is so poor. Barge of the Damned, you would kill C-Rec, and then Barge of the Damned, you'd play that, and they would put 3 copies of C-Rec. Now, you have to have, it's just specifically 1 copy. So if C-Rec dies, you only get 1 C-Rec, not 3. Very similar to the Salamanders, Deathfire, or even the Underverse now for the Space Wolves. If you like that concept, use those 2 factions over the Bards of the Damned. It's an option. It's not the best option. Bio Hell Cannon is trash. This is a trash card. I actually just now noticed that there's a Space Marine helmet down here. For the longest time, I was just like always seeing this. I never looked at the bottom of this card. And I played this card. I played this card in a challenge deck that uses troops to use energy. That's all I've ever used this card for. This doesn't even have poison. It's a Hell Cannon that can deal 3 damage and poison for 7. Terrible stats. Health of 8, but it can be bounced. Don't play this card. Do not. As a new player, if you have this card, replace it with something else. You will be much happier. Replace it with Corrupted Arcology. This is great. I like the Corrupted Arcology. I like Arcology too, but I think honestly Corrupted Arcology is better, especially since they changed the a lot of the backlash for the Arcology, the effects, or the power that deck had. This doesn't have a backlash, but you're putting in play a random 3-cost cultist, and there are some good cultists out there at the 3-cost. Your tops are either going to be Brotherhood or the Sorcerer. 3 for 3s. But you could very well get a Brute. You could also get an Adept, which is also going to let you put out more cultists. What you're really doing is you're putting troops on the board that your opponent doesn't want to ignore. But they also don't want to ignore the Arcology. The Arcology is not doing anything. It's just making cultists. It's great for building up for future combos via either Summoning Ritual, or for the Mass Offering. It's a great way to lower the cost of that. If you can protect it with a Sergeant Cork or another frontline troop, you can go crazy with your Chaos stuff. I like doing, if I'm doing a cultist deck, I've got to have the Arcology in there. But I think there's other decks that you can run without it, that you can put Arcology in just to make troops, whether that's for reckoning purposes, whether that's for making Marks of Chaos, having infantry die. It's not a bad way to go. Now, if you're playing at the higher levels, it's too slow. It's vulnerable to a single Vorax and a Face Strike, and you take it out, and then there's just one cultist on the board. That's a lot to lose for 7 energy. But early on, if you're playing the game, this is a good card to have. If you want to play a cultist deck, this is a good card to have. If you just want to have fun and build around a theme, it's solid. It's solid. Ruinous Claim. This is a really good card. When this card came out, I don't think enough people play this. And this has really got a lot of potential. Changes the health of all troops in play. This includes your troops. This is really good for board wipes across the board. Obviously, you think anybody who can do like 1 damage to the board. Cash and Vaughn. Dornstash has made pretty good use of that. I don't know if you actually use the 7 energy if you have 1 or 2 copies in there. But that's just a good boom. 9 energy. All your enemy troops die. It's almost like a Conqueror, unless they have got Survivor. That's the only thing that's going to protect them. And even then, yeah, it works really good with Korax. It's just going to say Korax, and then he can pick and choose and sneak attack and go into stealth. If you really want to just wipe the board, you can do the Curse of Raven at the 9 energy. Yeah. So you've thought about it. See, I think if you run into a lot of Survivor troops, like in the meta where we're seeing Namus Right-Hand and he might be packing a lot of Salamanders, it may not be as effective. And it might actually be detrimental, because then you're giving your opponent the ability to hit their sacrifices faster if you can't kill them on your turn. 7 energy is a high cost card, but it's not the cost of the card, it's what you can do with it. That is a great card for Kurz, for Nightmare Kurz. He's got the was it Murderous Intent, Terror Campaign? What has he got there? The 4 energy tactic. Talent for Murder. He has a Talent for Murder, which locks everything to can attack, or locks one target to can attack, give it health of troop 1. But if for 7 energy, and he's already gone into Night Hunter mode, so he has 10 energy, he can play this, he can kill a troop that has got 1 health, and he has 3 energy left to either play another card, draw some cards. This is a great stall option for him. The game is a little bit faster. I don't think Cashin is up to speed on that. This won't do anything against your Jaegers, because they already have 1 health, so you're going to have to figure out, but this will get rid of that 6 energy troop that spawns more Jaegers. It doesn't see enough play. Maybe it's because it's 7 energy. If you could play it for a little bit cheaper, maybe if it was 6 or 5, it would probably be too broken. Like that would just be, it would just kill board decks. And board decks already have a hard enough time given the fact that the Raven Guard have got Shadow Killers. You've got a lot of board wipe stuff. It doesn't do anything against drop pods, so Muster for War Master will still be able to surpass it, because guess what? Those troops already have 1 health anyways. But if you've got a deck that can pack some heat, if you've got frag grenades, if you've got a warlord or 2 that can spread damage, Zardu Layak, Ferrith Redloss, it's a high energy play. It's a 9 energy play, but potentially that is 3 to all troops killed with that card combo. And if you're looking to play a late game, that might be a way to go about it. That could also be, I'm trying to think, like maybe useful with Jagathai Khan. Tricky with that. I think maybe there's better things for him to play at 7 energy. That's a little bit of a stretch. Softpeck, the Warped Chicken, as it were. I like this artwork. A lot of people like the old artwork better. The classic artwork, as you will. This still looks good. Greater Demon Prince of Tzeentch, as opposed to the Teloth, who is just the Demon Prince of Tzeentch. This guy here's got higher maintenance, and for 0 energy, he gets a random tactic in your hand, but then your next tactic costs 0. Now, this often gets used when there is a high-cost tactic combo that people want to use, whether it's Apotheosis for while there was Desperate Defense. You could use it with Hexagrammaton if you want to mix it up, but I feel like a demon in the middle of a Dark Angels deck is just too wonky. You could use it for something like, Summoning Ritual or something else that is Baleful Assembly, which we'll get to shortly. If you can get Softpeck off at 7, and then you play Baleful Assembly, and then all your cards are 0, that's a way to go about it. You still have to deal with maintenance, but there are cards that help you deal with maintenance, specifically just ignoring it. So I think that's an option. I think if you're looking for a combo deck and you really want to power down on a specific high tactic, that's probably the best use for him at this point. And it still is very like jokey. It's not, you're giving up attacking for 7. On the turn after you play him, you'll have 4 energy. So you really won't be able to follow up with too much. Maybe a tactic, maybe a random stun or a flank, if anything. But if you play it and you've got the high cost tactic that you want to trigger, maybe the benefit would be worth it. Outside of that, not so great. For 9 energy, I guess with Fail, you could drop him, flank him, use his ability, and play Baleful Assembly in the same turn, and then drop a whole bunch of chaos stuff. But you get into 9 energy. You get into that high-end mark versus the 7, 8 energy. So, it's tricky. I don't know. He's good for some decks. He's not great for all the decks. He's not great for many decks. I would say he's probably good for like 10% of decks. And he used to be in every deck. Early on, when there was not too many legendaries, he was like the second best Greater Demon, second to Yuria the Seducer. But now you just don't see him a whole lot. The Remnant has been new and has got some options. I like this card. I really do. It took me a while to get the 2 copies before he finally popped up in the shop. It's a high cost. It's a 7 energy cost, but the stats are great because you can avoid Melgator. He's got Ward, which is really cool. Maintenance 2 is not too shabby for what he is. And there's a couple warlords who can lower that or just ignore it if you've got Ingathel or if you've got Chaos Spawn. Or if you're Lorgar, it's maintenance 1. He gives marks of chaos to your non-demon troops. Now, they have to be non-demon. So if you are running it with Lorgar, any Astartes that have got Demon Host are demons. So those will not work for you. Like Torgal Squad is a word bearer, but once he gets a Demon Host, he's a demon. And then you've got where's it, Dark Brethren right out the gate, which are Astartes demon. So they would not benefit from the remnant. But you drop him on a board with like 2 or 3 troops, and all of a sudden that's 2 or 3 marks of chaos that go off. Your opponent now has to deal with 2 or 3 buffed troops, plus this warded 5/7. And if they don't, then the next turn, they've got the 5/7 plus whatever else getting marks of chaos. It's a really good card for those combos that are running stuff. The problem is 7 energy, and you have to have troops on the board to really benefit, because he's not going to give himself a mark of chaos. So that's where we are with the Remnant. I think if you're running the Remnant, you probably want to run like a cultisty deck. Maybe if you're running something along the lines of like, I'm just trying to think like with the newer stuff, like Super Saul could get him out early, get him for 5, and then play a couple of lower cost troops potentially. That's an option. The downside is then he got maintenance, and I don't think Super Saul wants to deal with the maintenance. So I don't know. This would work really well if you really want to super meme your Solar Auxilia. Yeah, you could do it with Solar Auxilia. I was just about to say, if you really wanted to super meme out the Death of Innocence, and I mean, granted, you've got it. That would just be a fun game. I don't think it's not going to be competitive at all, because you got to play 2 Death of Innocence, right? And then you've got to have those troops, those Chaos Mechanicum troops out there. Then you throw down the Remnant, and then they get 3 marks of chaos. And then the next turn, you could potentially have like a board full of Greater Demons. Maybe with Tacitus Proctor spitting out 2 Servo Automata with 2 marks of chaos on them. Or maybe Scoria being able to drop it a little bit faster with the free energy, drop a troop as well as Remnant. It's totally memey. That would be something that'd be something that Karmatos should do. I'm going to pitch that idea to Karmatos. I'll let him handle that. I think that's potential. I think the Remnant can make it happen. I think the Remnant can make it happen on the Death of Innocence. The just straight up just death of your energy is what that would be. Fate's Death. Speaking of death, look at that. Fate's Death. It's a Basilisk tank. It's a new tank. It's 4/8. The ability is pretty basic. Deal 4 damage if target dies, add a Taint of Chaos to your hand. Now you ask yourself, how is this different from Nagahyle? How is this different from Nagahyle? We'll talk about Nagahyle in a second. Nagahyle is OP. 4/8. Pass. I know people play it with the with Baleful Assembly, like if they're just throwing in chaos cards for high cost, because, you know, why not? And if you can't deal with it, I can at least pay 1 and deal 4 damage, and then get a Mark of Chaos. Cool. All right. There's better cards, like Nagahyle. I think Nagahyle is the clear upgrade. You've got Fate's Death, 4/8 for 8, pay 1, deal 4. You've got Nagahyle, which is a 4/9 for the same cost, pay 3, deal 6. So you may be paying a little bit more, but you're just straight dealing 6 damage. It doesn't matter if it's Troop or Warlord. For Battle Honor, add a Taint of Chaos to your hand, which is a little different. So if you don't want to pay the 3, you can still hit for 4 and get the Taint of Chaos. Nagahyle does so much. Sarcasm, not at all. Actually, I use Nagahyle in my Ingathel deck for a variety of reasons. For the memes, but also because it's a Marks of Chaos. It can deal 6 damage. I think Nagahyle in a Baleful Assembly deck is not a bad choice. It's got 9 health. It's got 4 attack. And if you play Baleful Assembly, it's not coming on the board alone. It's usually coming on the board with several demons, greater demons. So there's other things that your opponent is more concerned about. Unless they have a board clear, this is going to do some damage. So it's a card that you might start off with as a new player, but eventually you're going to replace it, and then maybe every now and then you'll go back to it and throw it in there. Maybe. You know what? This actually wouldn't be bad in a deck that runs the card that nobody runs. Where is it? It's that tank card. Is it a chaos card? You know what? Oh, you know what? I don't think we got that card. I was thinking there was a neutral card that gave us +1 to vehicles in your deck, kind of similar to the Iron Warriors, but we didn't get that card. We got the other card instead. That's right. Just going through my mind. Going through my mind. Yeah, Nagaheil is it's interesting. It's interesting that this is a possessed basilisk, but it's just a vehicle. It's not a demon vehicle. This was before they actually did the hybrid demon vehicles. They were just, straight up demon or not. Yiria the Seducer. The enemy warlord has 0 attack, maintenance 4. Hey, how's it going, Lucarian? This is seeing its days. It's not getting a whole lot of play right now because the game has shifted. It's less aggro warlord face power. I'm doing okay. We're doing the card by card on Twitch because my OBS is not catching up video game play for whatever reason. I'm not sure what the bug is. I'm not sure what the problem lies. So I've got to do it on Twitch, and I want to get this done today and put the card by cards to bed. Yeah, it is annoying. But the aggro warlords have seen kind of their day, and really, if you want to make your enemy warlord attack 0, Night Lords just do this so much better right now, and they do it faster, and they do it repeatedly without maintenance 4. Yiria still has some potential as just like a surprise in a game. Sometimes I've had a Yiria pop up from Ingethel creating a greater demon, and that's a bit of a problem. And then if they get a second or third Yiria, because that's what Ingethel does, is make demons, that would be a different kind of game. Those are kind of games for the fun of it, not games for the serious of it. If you want to play games for the serious of it, this is a good card to have in your collection in the instance where the meta shifts, and Yiria is a good card to throw in there because high attack warlords or aggro warlords are kind of picking up speed. If you can figure out a way to get Yiria out cheaper, out for free, out for whatever, and there's a lot of ways to do that. This is a good tool. If anything, it buys you a turn or two. But it's not a card that you're going to be putting in as... This used to be a pseudo-staple. I would say probably about 50% of the decks you would always throw in a Yiria just in the pitch because you were running into those aggro warlords. But the game has changed and you don't see them as often, nor do you see the ability to make as much of an impact with Yiria. For 8 energy, you could play a couple cards that benefit you more. So this is a good card to have in your collection, not a great card to go out and get right now if you were to see it in the shop. But if you see it in the shop and you're thinking about it and you don't really have anything else on your list, this might be a good one to add. Baleful Assembly. So we mentioned this several times already this video, and I don't know if I mentioned it in the other 2 videos that I did for the card by cards, but Baleful Assembly is a deck build unto itself, typically with somebody who can tutor cards or who's got the ability to go through their stuff really quick. I think the easiest example of that is with Lord Cypher, who can just choose one tactic from your deck and draw it. So if you've got limited tactics in your deck, like, I don't know, say a Baleful Assembly and 2 drilling sites, within 3 turns you'll have that Baleful Assembly in your hand. And then you can hopefully play it at cheaper energy because you've got those 2 drilling sites in hand. So at 7, you play Baleful Assembly. You have a handful of Chaos cards. Doesn't matter what they are at this point. They're all 0 cost. Every Chaos troop in your hand and deck is 0. Now, the rest of your tactics and stuff are going to be standard play. But you throw down a Father Decay, a Slayer of Worlds, a Yiria the Seducer, 2 Nagaheils. That's just amazing investment for 9 energy for that specific build. The problem is if there's a board clear, then you're playing top deck and you're kind of SOL unless you've got a lot more cards in hand after that, or you've got other tactics to support it. The cool thing is those Baleful Assemblies reduction is permanent. That's through the entire game, unless maybe they were to. I think if you were to have Baleful Assembly played, play a board full of stuff, and somebody was to say Targetize Sacrifice, they'd take some damage. But I think those specific cards would go back to the deck at regular cost, not at cost 0. I could be wrong. You'd have to test that. I think somebody would have to test that to find out. But it would still be a hard game for them because they just took 6 energy, or 12 damage from shuffling 6 units back into your deck, so that probably would have killed him anyways. It's if you want to go for a certain build. Lorgars, I think we're using this for a little bit too. As a Lorgar for 9 energy, put down 6 demons, and then you've got a free Reckoning. But Reckoning Lorgar at the time was able to reckon faster, and now he can't. So this is okay for him. It's just kind of a meme thing. He can ignore, some of the maintenance of the demons, but when you're putting down 6 or 7, 6 demons, you can't put down 7. If you're putting down 6 demons with maintenance 3 to 4, it doesn't matter that you're reducing it by 1. You don't have any energy left. It's still a good card for that build, but not something you throw in your deck at random. This is something you build a deck around, 100%. Like, there's no reason not to. If you put Baleful Assembly in your deck and you've only got like 3 Chaos cards, you have missed the point of this card. So keep that in mind. Father Decay this is my favorite demon, and I don't say that doesn't mean I like Nurgle. I don't like Chaos in general. But in terms of gameplay, honestly, Father Decay is the one I like the most. I like his ability. For 2 energy, I can put in play a random troop that died this game, can act again. That includes troops from my opponent. I used to use him way back before Vulcan got changed like 2 years ago with the Salamanders, who already had Survivor, who were already hard to kill. And then you use a Father Decay because they've already used all the hard removal stuff on all my Salamanders, and bring back all my Salamanders. And then we got Deathfire, so we don't really need Father Decay anymore. But I like to use him in my Ingathel deck because he can bring back all sorts of Chaos Infantry that have died, plus whatever else my opponent has thrown out at me. I've used him in games to spawn multiple fast troops that my opponent threw out at me, or that I've used. It just depends. He's so versatile. Depends on what you've got in your deck. If you are including him, I would hesitate on putting him in your deck unless you've got a lot of troops and a way to reduce his maintenance, because then you can get his ability off, 4 times as opposed to just the 3 times, which that extra time makes a difference. And then you can still hit for 6. He's got 14 health. But usually he just gets generated. Like 4 Marks of Chaos, make a Father Decay. Feel happy about that. Mass Offering. We talked about this with a little bit of the Cultist. If you're doing a Cultist deck, I don't think this is a bad card to consider. The downside with this is Mass Offering deals 4 damage to all units. That includes you and your troops. So this isn't something you want to play if you're already behind. However, this could be a 0-cost card. Just in the same way that the Censure for the Custodes can get to 0 cost, Mass Offering can get to 0 cost. You could play Mass Offering for cheap, kill the whole board, and then drop a Slayer of Worlds for 0 cost if you've done it right. The crazy thing is that's a lot of damage that you've probably taken or your troops have taken. So I wouldn't put 2 of those in your deck. Maybe as a one-up. Maybe as a thematic thing. That's something to play around with. The artwork is good. The artwork is really good. Like that's just really good art. But I don't like damaging myself if I can help it. There is a purpose. There's a reason here why you're doing the Mass Offering. I think Summoning Ritual is better, personally, but it's got potential. Mass Offering has got potential. If you don't want to play Mass Offering, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing Pax Chaotic. I think this is a profit card. Destroy all your troops. Put in play 3 random lesser demons. If you don't have any troops, you still get to put in play 3 random lesser demons. That's the beauty of it. Or if you have troops, just attack with them all, then destroy them, then put in play 3 random lesser demons. And those can be 3 Seducers. Those could be 3 Ravagers of Khorne. You could get 3 Khazdraks. You could get a Khazdrak and 2 Demons. You could get 3 Telos Changers. You could get 2 Battleflies, a Beast of Fyra. Those are the demons that you're going to get. You're not going to get... Well, you could get Screamers as well, which is probably... I would say Screamers and Battleflies are probably the worst demons that you could get with that, honestly. I think everything else has a purpose, has got a threat that your opponent can't ignore, especially the seducers. That's your high roll. Your high roll with Pax Chaotica is 15 damage from seducers. That's pretty solid for 9 energy. That is a high roll, and the more demons that they add to the game, the more that pool gets watered down. And we got Khazrak. Khazrak is a very strong demon, but he won't benefit from Pax Chaotica. But if you've got a Khazrak down with 2 other demons, your opponent's going to want to get rid of that Khazrak before those other demons, because things are going to get strong. So, not a bad card if you're looking to go demons. If you're a newer player and you have got this card and you don't have a whole lot of other options, I would recommend. Can you? Yes, with Summoning Ritual. Pax Chaotica cannot get demons though from the Ruinstorm faction, just from the neutrals, lesser demons. They have to be lesser demons. The demons from Ruinstorm are just demons. But this is a good card for a newer player who doesn't have a whole lot of cards to get maybe some high power end games options. Getting some high power end game troops that have got some high health. I think you can actually get Terror Hounds, actually, too. Terror Hounds is another one I missed, which isn't bad as a front line. If you get a couple of those or one of those, it's not a bad choice. It's not a choice, though. It's random. You could get 3 Battleflies. That's probably your low roll. I would say 3 Battleflies or 3 Teloth's Changers is your low roll, whereas your high roll is definitely the 3 Seducers. Apotheosis is another good artwork. Obviously, this is when Fulgrim gets into his ascension, starts to get all snaky. Your Warlord gains 6 health and +1. It used to gain 8 health, which was too much. And the attack becomes a permanent boost. The 10 energy cost is high, but if you're running a single Warlord that goes the distance, Jagathai Khan, Conrad Kurz are the typical ones that go to mind. I've never seen someone play it with... what's the other guy? Oh, gosh. I'm drawing a blank. Angron. I've never seen somebody play with Angron because I think he's got better options to go with. However, I have seen it play with Vulcan. Vulcan can go a long game. Vulcan Apotheosis. It's a little odd, but it's entirely possible. It gives him healing, gives him additional attack, and draws his game out even longer. So I have seen that. I haven't seen... There's a lot of Warlords you just don't see Apotheosis work. It's 10 energy. That's your turn. Unless you have a way to play this for 0, it's not great. I've seen it with some Custodes. I have seen it with some Custodes just to give themselves some extra reach with the Pale Spear, or the Paragon Spear, I should say. But maybe if they played like the Benediction and comboed that, like for 9 energy, if you have Pale Spear, and you play Benediction, give yourself Survivor 3 as well as Heal 6 and +1 attack, that might not be an option. I haven't seen it with Endrittar. I haven't seen it with Endrittar. That maybe, but I feel like if you're paying 10, that is a liability for Endrittar because then he has to attack. And while his attack might be 3, if your opponent has got a fat front line that he has to attack with, right into, he'll die. So this is kind of a dead card in that game or in that matchup. If you've got a Berserk Warlord, 10 energy cards are dangerous. Dangerous because they're a double-edged sword. Yeah, you get the benefit, but you have to attack now. You don't have an option out of it. Summoning Ritual is... This is a card that will let you get Ruinstorm Demons. This will not only let you get Ruinstorm Demons. You choose one demon. You get a choice. This card costs -1 when a friendly Chaos Infantry does not have to be a cultist. They just have to be a Chaos Infantry. So your Davanites would work. Your standard cultists would work as well. And then your Trader Crew. Why not? Those guys can work for it too. But you can get the Ruinstorm Demons. You get one of your choice. So you could, if you're lucky, get something like the Ula Doom of Heroes, who's got stealth, which means you'll actually be able to use him. Or perhaps a Demon Chosen, maybe a nasty frontline. Honestly, I think the best bet, especially if you play that at like a 0-cost card, is you can get the Marigal. That's a high roll. High roll Marigal. Play that with a 0-cost summoning ritual, as well as maybe a couple other troops to go with it. So now they have to divert everything into Marigal, and your other troops survive. It's a bit of a deck. I don't want to say meme deck. It's not a meme deck. It's a really specific combo deck to try to get executed. This was actually a build in a draft option for the Insurgent Leader Warlord in the last event. And I got that to work a couple times. I also had that work against me a couple times. Insurgent Leader was pretty good because he just makes cultists. Unfortunately, we don't have an Insurgent Leader Warlord in the standard game, so you don't have a way to feed that. But if you're playing Corpheiron, I think Corpheiron could probably feel that the most, especially if you're lucky enough with his ability to make cultist. He's just putting in a random 2-cost, but if you're a random 2-cost cultist, is the zealot, is the righteous zealot, then for 2 energy you're getting 2 reductions of that card, and maybe you could play that summoning ritual earlier in the game. The problem is you're playing Corpheiron, which is not a great way to go, but that's probably the best way to make use of both summoning ritual as well as mass offering. And those are cards like if you were to get them in your hand, you wouldn't want to ditch them because you're actually going to be reducing them every turn. Same goes for Slayer of Worlds. Slayer of Worlds works in a lot of decks, actually just as a fat 15-15 to throw down. It's scary, but when you've got decks that are having endless tokens being killed, a lot of cheap infantry being killed, this works with Fail, this works with Lucretia, not because she reduces the cost of this card, but the cost of all the other cards that she's throwing out there. You can use it with Defenders of Caliban and all those Jaegers that are going to die or at some point get killed. Those are all vulnerable. You can throw down a Slayer of Worlds for super cheap. It's got maintenance 7. That's the downside. The downside is also it does not have unstoppable. So if your opponent is able to put out frontline after frontline after frontline, your Slayer of Worlds will just kind of stall. However, the best combo you can do with Slayer of Worlds, for those who don't know, hopefully this little bit of video might help, is Sabotage it after you play it. Because then it won't have maintenance. And then you can do stuff on your turn. Now, if you're playing a opponent who has a lot of stun or any stun at their disposal, whether that's Alpha Legion, Emperor's Children, certain warlords that have the ability to stun units, save that Sabotage for the following turn. You'll have your energy reduced. You'll have your maintenance in effect. However, that Sabotage can remove the stun off Slayer of Worlds and the maintenance, and then you can hit them for 15. That is your best way to go, because otherwise, the only other cards that can remove stun, you have to be at 10 energy to play, because or 9 energy. The Wonders of Tizca is a 2 energy card, which you can only play if you've got 9 energy available, or the Pi Alpha is 3 energy, and that is also only if you're at 10 energy. So Sabotage is a single 1 energy card that you should be able to play if you're at 8 energy. And ideally, by the time you play Slayers for cheap, you should be at 7 or 8 energy. So that's my recommendation. If you weren't aware of that, if that little piece of information can help you, that's good. The counterattack. We're getting to the final leg of cards here. We've got a few more cards to go, and then the card by card is done. Not just for Chaos, for everything until they put more factions in the game. This counterattack's okay. Lower the cost of a random card in your hand by 1. It doesn't have to be great. I think this is actually one, not the weakest, probably in the bottom 5, but it is there for a reason, because Canis Vertex is in the faction as a warlord, and Canis Vertex has a very low, so that is the only warlord with a very low initiative, which means it will always have the counterattack unless you are in a mirror match against another Canis Vertex. And you don't need Canis Vertex having a powerful counterattack, just a counterattack that can kind of help them out a little bit, just a smidge. So there's the Chaos counterattack. Chaos Spawn is a 3 for 3. Why is it here? The only Chaos card that can make Chaos Spawn is the Chaos Spawn Warlord. But this is also a tool of the Word Bearers that can be used. It's got maintenance 1, it's a 3/3, it's a demon. That's it. It's basic. It's a spawn. If you get these in mass, it's cool. If you don't, not a big deal. I don't have a whole lot to say about the spawns. I feel like a deck that's built around making chaos spawns is usually the word bearers or the chaos spawn itself, and even then there's better cards to play at the late game. But for 3/3 for 2 energy, yeah, it's okay. Seducers are nice. I very rarely use their Battle Honor, but I have used their Battle Honor a couple times, which gives them stealth, which means they can attack again for 5. Usually they're just fast, boom, hit you for 5. Win the game, maybe, if you played like a couple of them together. If not, you can pocket them 5 for 4. They've got Maidens too, so I really don't want them to stick around if I can help it. But if I can hit for 5, I will hit for 5. And Ravagers of Khorne. Now, these are cards. All 3 of those cards, the Warp Spawn, the Seducers, and the Ravagers of Khorne, cannot be collected. They are not collectible. They can only be generated randomly. This is a powerful demon. For only Maintenance 2, you're getting a 6/6 that can get a lot stronger. A lot stronger. The downside is there's like only 4 or 5 ways to make a Ravagers or a Seducers, depending on the faction you're playing. Word Bearers can generate them, potentially. Ruinstorm can generate them, and then Chaos can make them as well. And then obviously if you work the Chaos neutrals into other decks, you can find ways to do that. I don't have any more to say. I mean, if I had to take a choice, I think Seducers is the best generated because 5 attack for fast is never a bad thing. But that's it. That is the Chaos card by card on Twitch because my OBS is not capturing video from the game app, which is odd. I will work hard to figure that issue out and hopefully get it fixed so I can just go back to recording episodes and doing Twitch for streaming gameplay. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.